Hey there, I'm Frank Stonehouse, and today in the Mountaintop Kitchen, we're going to be baking up some classic chocolate chip cookies. So let's get in there and get baking. See Okay, today we're going to get started with making my favorite chocolate chip cookies. Now, everybody has their favorite way to make chocolate chip cookies. Some people like them thin and crispy all the way through. Some people like them 3 inches thick and gooey. I like something in between. So we're going to get started with measuring out some pecans. We're going to toast them. So let's get our pecans ready. We're going to need about 110 grams or about a cup of pecans. Now, I like to use my trusty kitchen scale, my electric kitchen scale. I just like to use measurements with metrics and weight rather than by volume or imperial measurements like cups, such whatnot. So let's just put this here, and we're going to zero that out. Always zero out your scale. And we're going to get about 110 grams of pecans here. So let's see. Okay, all right. That's a little too much. Let's put some of these back. Always make sure you wash your hands before you bake. And there we have about 110. We're going to put these to the side. We're going to spread these out on a small cookie sheet. As you can see, I am not in a studio bakery. I'm not in a studio kitchen. I'm not in any kind of studio. I am in a working bakery kitchen. So things are not pretty and painted and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to turn around and put these into the oven for we're going to toast those for about 10 minutes. And while we're doing that, let's go ahead and get our batter started. We're going to zero out our scale again. And we need about 2 sticks of butter. That's about 227 grams. So you want to make sure that it's at room temperature, and you can test that by just pressing your finger into it. It should yield to your finger. Okay? You don't want it super, super warm and runny and oily. That's not going to work well. And you also don't want it hard and cold. So room temperature, you can just press your finger into it and it will yield. You can bend it and it won't break. So let's plop that in. Okay, and to that we're going to add our sugars. So we're going to zero out the scale again. I need about 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. So that's about 100 grams. So let's add that in there. Okay, where's my 100 grams? And we're getting close, almost. Come on. Need a little bit more. Okay, there we are. 100 grams of white. And we're going to need some brown sugar. Now, the white sugar will help to make your cookie a little crispy, but we also want that nice soft center, and brown sugar is going to do that for us. I'm here in Mexico, and we really don't have something called brown sugar. You might be able to find it in some upscale store somewhere. But we have muscovado sugar. So I'm using muscovado sugar today. And you do want to pack that down. Everybody's going to have a different weight on this. So mine will be about 210 grams. So I've packed mine in to 1 cup. Measured it out also. It's about 210 grams. And I'm just going to dump that in here. Also, I'm going to break it up with my hands. Remember, clean hands. So let's get that in there as well. And we're done with our trusty scale for the moment, so let's put it over here and let's get the mixer. Okay, let's get the mixer here. Let's plug this baby in here. Get our bowl. We do have the beater attachment on here. And we're going to, now if you take a look at some chocolate chip cookie recipes, they will tell you to just get things incorporated. That is true if you want your sugar to run a little bit and you want a thin, crispy cookie. I don't like that. In my kitchen, we like to make a little bit fatter, not New York City style cookies, not 3 inches tall, but something in between where we have a little bit of chew and some crispy edges. So I'm going to beat this for about 3 minutes to make sure that the butter and the sugar is emulsified or joined together really well. So let's get started with that. And we'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay, we're about halfway through the 3-minute mark, so we're going to scrape down the bowl because we want to get all of this sugar that's clinging to the sides and the butter that's sitting down at the bottom a little bit better mixed together. Okay, so that should do. And we'll finish our last minute and a half on about a medium-high speed. Okay, we're almost done, but let's give it another scrape down. We want this to be nice and incorporated. Get all those sugars and the butter together. Happy friends. Okay, I think that's about it. We've been maybe about 5 minutes, not 3. But it's looking pretty good. It's nice and fluffy. It's paler. The color is much more pale and very fluffy. There you go. You can take a look at it there. Exactly what we want. So let's get this back in here. Now we're going to beat in our eggs and our vanilla. So let's get this going again. Get it on slow to begin with. And we're going to just crack open our eggs. Now you want 2 large eggs. Typically a large egg is about 50 to 55 grams. In other countries it might be a little bit more. But we're going to go with 55 here, so we want about 110. Now if you crack open 2 eggs and you have less than 110, then you can crack open a 3rd egg, mix that up a little bit, and then add that until you get up to 110. So that's how you do it. So we're going to crack this. Put this baby in there, that's 1 egg. Okay. Let that get incorporated. Turn up the speed a little bit to medium high. It's looking good. And let's get our 2nd egg here. Gonna crack that and get that also into the bowl. Now, I just did that right into the bowl. I'm usually pretty good at not getting eggshells in my batter. But you can also do it in a separate bowl and then pour it in. That's probably the better or safer way to do it. Okay, so let's get that mixed up. I'm going to scrape down the sides at least once here. So let's scrape, 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 scrape. Always got to scrape because as good as these mixers, these planetary mixers are, they don't get everything that's hanging out down at the bottom. So we need to help it out a little bit by doing some scraping here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Get the excess off that. And let's keep beating this. And now we can add in our 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Have it right here. Just plop that in. Plop. And let that mix up a little bit. Okay, we don't have much further to go with this to make the batter. That's looking pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Okay, and let's get some of this off of the beater, shall we? Off this paddle. Get that down into the bowl. Because I actually want to take this bowl off of here, so that I can bring my trusty scale back again, and we're going to weigh the flour. We need about 2, since we're using pecans, normally the recipe would call for 2 3/4 cups of flour. which is about 330 grams. But we're going to be using 2 1/4 cups of flour, which would be about 270 grams today. So I'm just going to turn on my scale, zero it out, and go for 270 grams of flour. So let's see here. All right. Getting close. 250. Okay, there's 270. And we have about a teaspoon of baking soda. So we'll get a teaspoon here. Let's get that, level it off a little bit. Throw that into the mix. And shuffle that on through. I don't put my salt in right now because I use a really nice kosher sea salt and it will not go through the sieve. So we'll add a nice heaping teaspoon of that into the mix right now. Okay. We're going to get this back onto the mixer. Get rid of our scale. We don't need it right now. And we're just going to gently pulse this until we can just see some streaks of flour in the batter. We don't want to go all the way to where there's no streaks because we still have to put in our pecans and our chocolate. So that'll give us a little bit more time to mix in the flour. We do not want to overdevelop that gluten. So we're just going to pulse, and you can see some flew out. Pulse, 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 and there we go. All right, that's good enough. And we'll do the rest by hand. So you can see the batter has really thickened up by adding the flour. So let's get this off the paddle attachment. We are pretty much done with the paddle attachment, so we're going to get rid of the mixer altogether and get all this goodness off. Okay. It's always fun cleaning off the paddle. You don't want to really eat raw cookie dough because unless you've baked the flour in advance, because there could be some bacteria in there. It's not a good idea to eat raw flour. Some people do. I mean, I'm sure a lot of kids do when their moms and dads are baking in the kitchen. All right, let's put that to the side. Okay, so let's chop this chocolate up, why don't we, in nice chunks. Now you're going to end up with all different sizes, and that's good. That's what you want to do. You're going to have some little dusty pieces, and you're going to have bigger pieces and smaller pieces, and that's what's going to make your cookie very unique. So let's just keep chopping. This will take a little bit of time because we have 255 grams. That's about 2.5 chocolate bars. Each chocolate bar is about 100 grams each. So that's where we're coming at. Okay, so keep chopping, chop all of this up, and just move on to the next bar. Okay, so now we have our batter almost ready. We're going to take our toasted pecans that we toasted a little while ago at 350 for 10 minutes, maybe about more like 8 minutes. We're going to break these up a little bit because we don't want whole pieces in our cookies. So you just mash them with a rolling pin, very easy, inside of a Ziploc bag. And look for some big pieces. I think we're pretty close there. Okay. Those are ready. So we're going to take our batter, a cookie batter. We're going to open up the Ziploc bag, dump in our pecans. Remember that's about 1 cup of pecans, or about 110 grams. We're also going to put in our chocolate that we chopped up. We have about 255 grams, a mixture of milk chocolate and 70% dark chocolate. Put that in there. And now we're just going to mix this up by hand. And just until everything is incorporated, because again, we don't want to overdevelop the gluten in the flour. And that's looking pretty good. I think we got it pretty much mixed up, everything all the way through. Let's get all the way down to the bottom. Get all the way down there in case there's any batter sitting down there that doesn't have any nuts in it or chocolate in it yet. But I think this is looking pretty good. Okay, so our batter is done. We're just going to get it onto a cookie sheet. We're going to chill these for a few hours before we bake them so that the flavors have a chance to mingle together. You always want to test one cookie first to make sure that I already know, how my oven behaves and how long these take to cook. I've baked them so many times already. Okay, so I have this really great Vollrath scoop, and it's, it's 5/8 ounces, 1 5/8 ounces, and I think it's the number 20, but it's the one with the yellow handle. And this is a really good quality scoop. It's not going to break. It's going to last you a long time. I would go with quality because the cheaper ones can break quite frequently. So let's go ahead and start scooping this out onto the cookie sheet, and then we'll chill them for a while. You want to spread these out quite a bit because they're kind of a big cookie. Get maybe about 8 on this sheet. See how it goes. Okay, it's looking good. Just scoop and drop. I think we're only going to get 6 on here. And scoop. And we'll get 2 more just to be safe. And 1 and 2. These are going to be so good. Okay, so we have the cookie. Let's get this one. I don't like the way that one came out. Let's do it again. Okay. Here we go. All right, so we have the cookies on the cookie sheet. I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the fridge for about maybe 3 hours, and then we'll bake them up. And we'll eat them up too. We'll be right back in 3 hours. Hold on. Well, welcome back. It's been 3 hours, and we have got some chocolate chip cookies. I've already been biting on these. They're so good. They're so chocolatey. Nice crunchy edge. Soft in the middle. They're so good. And of course, you need milk with chocolate chip cookies. Don't forget to check the link at the end of this video or down below. Or if you're already in our blog, then you can see the link already. I'm going to keep eating. I'm sorry. These are too good. See you next time. Bye.